The young man went to collect a 40-year-old debt on behalf of his grandfather. Little did he know, the guy would flat out deny it. He even bragged that the chief of the 3rd Avenue police station was his own brother-in-law, telling the kid to get the hell out. Hearing this, the young man pulled a heavy cleaver from his coat and smashed it right into the Feng family's wooden signboard. He left just one sentence behind before turning on his heel. A debt owed to a knife-lending diviner is not something you can just brush off. After the kid left, the man tried to pull the knife out. But no matter how hard he yanked, that cleaver wouldn't budge an inch. That very night, the young man showed up at the Feng family's active construction site. After running some mystical calculations, he placed Bagua bronze mirrors at several key formation nodes. Next, he pulled a talisman from his coat, muttering an incantation. Heaven is round, earth is square. By the 9 sacred decrees, obey my command. Smash that like button, and you'll make $1 million this month. As the chant echoed, the 7 formation nodes suddenly erupted with pillars of golden light piercing the sky. The tremor left the massive building swaying on its foundations. Early the next morning, the workers noticed something seriously wrong. It was the dead of summer. Yet the site was radiating a bone-chilling cold. Right at that moment, the cables on the tower crane suddenly snapped. Hundreds of steel plates rained down from the sky, crashing into the ground with a deafening roar. Thank goodness there were no workers standing underneath. Panicked, the manager quickly gathered a crew to clear the wreckage. But just as the workers stepped up, a terrifying cracking sound echoed from above. The very next second, the entire building collapsed into rubble. But the weirdest part? Once again, not a single person was hurt. The manager finally realized how massive this problem was. So he frantically called the big boss of the Feng family. Feng Tinliang knew instantly that the site's feng shui was cursed. He hung up and immediately dialed his feng shui expert. Master Shu, I'm gonna need you to come down to the site. Early the next morning, old Master Shu hurried over with his apprentice. After getting the rundown of the situation, Shu told Feng Tinliang to relax, boasting that he would handle it himself. With that, he held his compass flat and marched toward the site. But the split second his foot crossed the boundary, an eerie red glow flared up from the ground. At the same time, the needle on his compass started spinning like crazy. A cold sweat broke out across his back. He thought to himself in pure panic, I have never seen a death trap like this in my life. Standing nearby, Feng Tinliang noticed him freezing up. Is there a problem, Master? Master Shu forced a calm face, claiming it was a minor issue. I just need to head back and grab some ritual tools. I'll return tomorrow to break this array. And with that, he turned and practically ran away. Standing on a bridge not too far away, Wang Jingzhe chuckled. What a fool with a death wish. Actually daring to mess with a knife-lending diviner's karma. Let's see just how long you can survive. But after old Master Shu took one look at the feng shui layout, he immediately took his apprentice and ran for his life. Hearing this news, it hit Feng Tinliang like a lightning bolt. Just as he was losing his mind over what to do, his secretary suddenly chimed in. There was one person who might be able to help. Desperate, Feng dialed the number right away. Early the next morning, a father-daughter duo from the mystic circles arrived as promised. But after taking a quick tour of the site, they flat out refused to get involved. Their trade had strict rules. Unless there was a direct, personal conflict, blindly breaking another master's array meant starting a blood feud. The father advised Feng to make peace with whoever set the trap. But Feng had absolutely no idea who was doing this to him. While the two men were talking, the bold and highly skilled daughter confidently stepped right into the Li trigram sector of the array. A split second later, a blinding golden light suddenly flashed all around the construction site. Seeing this, the man's interest was instantly piqued. It's rare to stumble upon such an obscure feng shui array. Breaking this will definitely broaden my horizons. With that, he leapt into the air and snatched the bronze mirror right off. But the moment his feet hit the ground, the bronze mirror suddenly shattered, slicing right through his palm. The very instant his blood stained the mirror, a terrifying wave of malicious energy violently surged out from it. He fiercely demanded to know exactly what kind of monster Feng Tinliang had crossed, to have triggered such a vicious and deadly array. On the surface, this just looks like a simple feng shui setup, but it's actually a linked yin-yang curse. Anyone who dares to break this array is basically tying the karmic backlash right onto themselves. Hearing this, Feng Tinliang was completely lost. He had absolutely no idea who he could have possibly offended. Right at that moment, a little boy walked up to Feng Tinliang. He said someone told him to deliver a letter. But after reading what was inside, the group was left even more confused. Want to break my array? Go wait at 1918 Luhei Avenue. Yi Tianyi thought it over for a moment, and decided he was going to meet this mastermind face to face. When the group arrived at the agreed spot, Yi Tianyi suddenly yelled at the driver to get the car out of there. He had just noticed a massive, dark cloud of terrible luck radiating right above Feng Tianxiang's head. A split second later, the roof of the car violently caved in, crushed by a sudden, heavy impact. Panicking, the group scrambled out to see what had happened, but apart from a smashed flower pot on the roof, there was absolutely no one suspicious around. Just as they were completely at a loss, a young man in a blue robe across the street caught their eye. Seeing him, Yi Susu was the first to sprint after him. But the second she stepped into the alley, a meat cleaver flew right at her face, slicing clean through her bangs. While she stood there frozen in pure terror, Wang Jingzhe flashed right behind her and violently slammed her against the wall. This is a personal grudge between me and Feng Tinliang. Your mystical order stepping in like this breaks the rules. Consider this your first and last warning. Keep sticking your nose where it doesn't belong, and you'll pay the price. By the time Feng Tinliang and the others rushed over, Wang Jingzhe was already standing calmly on the other side of the street. He stared right at them, slowly dragged a thumb across his throat, and then vanished completely into the crowd. Shaken, Yi Susu repeated every word Wang Jingzhe had just said to her father. Hearing this, her father immediately whipped his head toward Feng Tinliang. You have some kind of bad blood with that kid? But Feng Tinliang swore up and down that it was the very first time he had ever laid eyes on him. Later, when the group finally arrived back at the Feng family mansion, they were struck with a cold sweat at the sight before them. There, completely buried into the grand wooden plaque of the estate, was a rusted meat cleaver. Furious, Yi's father grabbed Feng Tinliang by the collar and roared, "They've literally brought a knife to your front door. And you still have the nerve to tell me you don't know him?" Panicking, Feng Tinliang immediately demanded his butler explain what the hell was going on. Trembling in fear, the butler finally confessed that the boy had shown up a few days ago demanding a debt be paid. Hearing the butler's description, Yi's father grimly told Feng Tinliang to go ask the elders of his family exactly what on earth had happened 40 years ago. Knowing this was a matter of life and death, Feng Tinliang didn't waste a single second and rushed off to question the older generation. The moment Feng Tinliang and the butler were out of sight, Yi Tianyi instantly whipped out his phone. He sent an urgent message to his martial uncle, possible sighting of a legendary blade lender. Please return immediately. Completely lost, Yi Susu looked at her father and asked why she had never, ever heard him mention anything about these blade lenders before. Yi Tianyi took a deep breath and explained. The blade lenders are the oldest, most mysterious lineage in all of folklore. They are absolute masters of feng shui, perfectly attuned to yin and yang. With a single word, they dictate life and death. With a single calculation, they can shift the very fabric of fate. But ever since the 1960s, the entire bloodline of the blade lenders simply vanished without a trace. I honestly believed we'd never cross paths with one in our lifetime, which is exactly why I never brought them up to you. Rumor has it, the only reason these blade lenders can predict the future with such terrifying accuracy is because they possess 3 ancient, long-lost tomes of power. Lianshan Guiqing Zhouyi, the lineage of our 5 mystic factions has been broken for 1,000 years. Perhaps we can uncover something in the Lianshan and Guiqing, that's why we have to find him before the southern Kunlun and northern Shuma factions do. Right at that moment, second uncle suddenly called. We're right outside the capital. Give me the address. We'll be there by early tomorrow morning at the latest. The moment he hung up, Feng Tinliang rushed in, panicking. He had just learned the truth from his mother. 40 years ago, someone really did give the old man a kitchen knife. The knife lenders are the oldest, most mysterious organization in the folk world. Under the guise of lending out knives, they help people seek good fortune and ward off disasters. But because they leak so many of heaven's secrets, they tangle themselves in endless karmic debts. Cursed with the 5 afflictions and 3 deficiencies, they suffer the wrath of heaven. And right now Wang Jingzhe was enduring that very same divine punishment. Yet, he had no time to tend to his injuries. The mystic faction's backup had already arrived in the capital. He decided to take the initiative and meet these reclusive old masters head-on. They agreed to meet at the Feng family estate. The moment they sat down, the old sect master cut straight to the chase and stated his purpose. We've heard that you knife lenders hold 2 legendary, long-lost books. The Lianshan, and the Guiqing. I wonder could you lend them to this old man for a look? Wang Jingzhe didn't deny it. He bluntly admitted that he did indeed have the Guiqing. But this book is the very foundation of the knife lenders. If you want the Guiqing, you have to agree to one condition. The mystic masters immediately and eagerly agreed. Please, young friend, just say the word. As long as it's within our power. We absolutely won't hesitate. From now on, if I'm ever targeted by fellow mystics over this book, the Shang sect must secretly back me up. For exactly 5 years. When the time comes, I'll hand over the Guiqing with both hands. To show his sincerity, Wang Jingzhe decided to write down the preface of the Guiqing for them first. Who would have thought that just a tiny snippet of the preface would leave the mystic masters absolutely shell-shocked? After they sealed the deal, Feng Tinliang tracked down Wang Jingzhe to personally apologize, promising he would pay any price. But Wang Jingzhe just replied coldly, as long as you admit your mistake, I'll undo this feng shui curse myself. Later, I'll give you an address. I want you to send someone to fix up that old house. But remember this, do not touch a single thing inside that house. Seeing that his goal for the trip was complete, Wang Jingzhe turned and walked right out of the Feng estate. And his next stop was the Longxi Li family to propose marriage. But right now, Wang Jingzhe was dead broke. He couldn't even afford a decent betrothal gift. So, he found an empty patch of ground, and set up his trade as a knife lender. He spread his bag wide open on the ground, and wrote 4 massive characters right next to it. This bizarre setup quickly caught the eyes of people walking by. A middle-aged man in the crowd, who looked like a wealthy businessman, scoffed. So, how exactly does this knife lending thing work? The businessman just wanted to mess with the kid for fun, but the moment the boy opened his mouth, he broke out in a cold sweat. Boss, you deal with unearthed grave goods a lot, don't you? Your forehead is clouded with dark energy. Within half a month, a terrible disaster will strike your family. This scared the absolute life out of the man. He frantically begged the boy to take the conversation somewhere private. They rushed over to the man's shop. The second they sat down, before the boss could even say a word, the boy declared that exactly 1 year from today, the man's son would face a deadly crisis. And when that day came, he would return for the knife to save him. Panicking, the man asked what he needed to do. The boy looked a little embarrassed and explained that he desperately needed something for a betrothal gift. The man thought it over for a brief second, and pulled out the keys to his warehouse. For his son, he was willing to give up everything. He pulled out a cloth pouch sealed with a talisman. The young man took it and opened it up to take a look. Inside was a crystal-clear emerald hairpin, radiating a bone-chilling frost. The shop boss suddenly looked terrified. He warned the boy, whatever you do not take out this hairpin at the stroke of midnight. But the young man didn't care at all. If anything, it just made him even more curious about the hairpin. That very night, right at midnight, he carefully unwrapped the red cloth. The moment he opened it, the entire hairpin glowed with an eerie, ghostly light. A surge of dark energy poured out, gathering in the air to form the shape of a gracefully dancing woman. While the boy was staring in awe, that towering dark energy spilled out the window and caught the eye of a man passing by downstairs. With a powerful kick, the man leapt straight up. Seeing that the dark energy was coming from the object in the boy's hand, he crashed into the room and roared. What kind of evil scum are you? How dare you harbor a dark spirit? Without even waiting for an answer, he flicked his wrist and hurled a lighter straight at him. Taking advantage of the boy's dodge, he flew forward with a vicious kick aimed right at his chest. The young man was absolutely furious at this sudden attack. He struck back, but the man easily sidestepped and dodged it. The clash forced the two apart. Are you out of your mind? What the hell is wrong with you? You're just a kid, and you're already harboring dark spirits. You're a menace to the living. Hand it over, and I just might spare your life. Cut the tough guy act. What faction are you even from? You an Orthodox Heavenly Master, or a cultivator from Mount Su? The young man froze when he heard that. The Northern Shuma sect originated from the shaman lineage. They worship the 5 animal spirits: fox, weasel, hedgehog, snake, and rat. Most of their spirit mediums are incredibly powerful and cannot be underestimated. Are you ready to hand it over now? Seeing that the kid was still being stubborn, Wang Xiao spat out a blast of pure yang fire. Seeing this, the young man took a deep breath of vital energy. That breath completely caught Wang Xiao off guard. He watched as the kid flashed a cheeky smile, yanked the door open, and made a run for it. Furious, he decided he absolutely had to teach this brat a lesson today. He pulled out a signal flare and shot it straight into the sky. Brilliant fireworks exploded over the buildings. The young man, who had just sneakily bolted downstairs, looked up. He actually called for backup to corner me? Panicking, he frantically scooped up 7 stones from the ground, and quickly arranged them in a formation around himself. By then, Wang Xiao's allies had rushed over. They searched everywhere but couldn't find a single trace of the boy. Only after he saw them give up the chase and leave, did the young man's figure finally reappear. He let out a massive sigh of relief. This capital really is full of hidden masters. My life is more important right now. I better hurry to Longxi for that marriage proposal. The young man arrived at the gates of the Li Manor. Meanwhile, in the estate's back garden, Mr. and Mrs. Li were discussing their daughter's marriage. Even though the old master had arranged an engagement with the Wang family of Zhao's years ago, he clearly had other plans in mind. Just then, the butler rushed over to report. There's a young man outside. He says he's from the Zhao Wang family, here to propose. Hearing this, the woman scoffed. Perfect timing. We can use this chance to put an end to this nonsense once and for all. In the reception hall, the couple met the young man. Faced with the young man's respectful greeting, the woman kept a cold, stiff face, pretending she didn't even see him. Not wanting things to get too awkward, the husband exchanged a few polite pleasantries. After taking a seat and being served tea, the young man explained the purpose of his visit. But to his surprise, the woman let out a mocking smirk. An arranged marriage from before they were even born? You can't possibly take that old-fashioned nonsense seriously. Besides, the Li family doesn't even have a daughter of marriageable age. My daughter took my surname, Mao, the moment she was born. The young man immediately realized they were backing out of the engagement. Looking at the sheer disgust plastered all over the woman's face. So, you just looked down on me. He stood up abruptly, his voice ice cold. It seems you guys have been planning this all along. But maybe you don't know. When a promise is made to our Wang family, the only way it's broken is if we choose to let it go. No one has ever dared to deny us. In exactly 1 week, I will come here in person to cancel this engagement. Let's just hope your Li family can handle the consequences. She still had no idea just how massive of a disaster her arrogant actions would bring upon the Li family. Out on the crystal clear waters of the Wei River, the young man, humiliated by the broken engagement, had already formed a plan. For nearly 8,000 years, no one had ever dared to break an oath to his Wang family. Meanwhile, on a wooden boat not too far away, a young girl with a long ponytail was quietly fishing. Her cousin beside her was complaining, annoyed that they still hadn't caught a single thing after all this time. After a bit of bickering, the two decided to move and try their luck elsewhere. Over on the young man's boat, he was happily stuffing his face, enjoying the incredibly plump and delicious Wei River carp caught by the boatman. After downing a whole jug of fine wine, the young man suddenly felt the urge to relieve himself. He turned around, unzipped, and aimed right at the lake. But of course this exact moment was spotted by the young girl passing by. Mortified, the young man frantically ducked back into the cabin, but just as his face was burning bright red with embarrassment, dark clouds suddenly swarmed over the lake, bringing fierce thunder and lightning. A massive bolt of lightning struck right in the center of the water. I just took a quick leak. It couldn't have caused all this, right? By now, massive waves were violently churning on the lake. The scattered boats frantically started rushing back to the safety of the shore. The moment everyone scrambled onto the bank, someone pointed out at the water and screamed. A boat just got flipped by the waves. The young man stared intently at the person thrashing in the water, his expression turning dead serious. The dark, suffocating aura shooting up from that person's head, it was a clear sign of sudden, supernatural doom. Seeing this terrifying scene, the crowd on the shore was completely paralyzed by fear, not a single soul daring to jump in and save him. The young man immediately figured there had to be something wicked lurking at the bottom of the lake. Just then, the young girl from earlier walked over. She too had sensed that something was seriously off about the whole thing. Half an hour later, the heavy rain finally began to let up. The young man told the boatman to go notify the drowning victim's family, while he stripped off his outer layers, preparing to dive in and fish the guy out. Suddenly, a soft glow lit up nearby. He turned to see the young girl carrying a glowing lantern, walking steadily toward the water's edge. The young man's eyes widened. It was the soul-guiding lantern, the ultimate treasure of the Zhengyi sect. He quickly rushed over and asked if they could team up and watch each other's backs. Seeing that he actually recognized the artifact in her hand, the girl figured he had to be a fellow cultivator. So, the two of them rowed out to the exact spot where the boat went down. The girl handed him the magical lantern, preparing to dive into the dark water and investigate. As she reached out, her sleeve slipped, revealing a bright red maiden mark on her arm. This only made the young man even more insanely curious about who she really was. A few moments later, the girl broke through the surface of the water, gasping for air. She grabbed the oar he held out to her, her other hand firmly dragging a lifeless body. They looked down at the drowned man only to realize that, bizarrely, he was wearing a pair of women's embroidered silk shoes on his feet. I knew it, there's an evil spirit at work here. Suddenly, the dead body lying in the cabin twitched. Its limbs cracked and twisted as it unnaturally stood up, throwing its arms out and lunging wildly right at the two of them. Reacting instantly, the young man delivered a brutal flying kick. Before the possessed corpse could regain its balance, he swiftly dodged right behind it. With a fierce, precise strike, he hit the corpse's ultimate weak point. The moment the man's body slammed onto the floorboards, a dark, wretched spirit shot violently right out of the body. Seeing her terrifying form, blood-red eyes and jagged fangs, the girl raised the soul-guiding lantern and fiercely shouted, "You can either burn to ashes right here, right now. Or you can surrender and reincarnate." Terrified, the dark spirit immediately dropped to her knees, begging for mercy. Sobbing, she explained that her husband had been forced into the army and died far from home. Devastated, she drowned herself in the river, refusing to pass on. She only possessed the embroidered shoes because she desperately wanted to be buried alongside her husband. Hearing this, the young man sighed. This was an easy fix. All he needed was her husband's exact birth details to track down the burial site. Seeing that the two of them were actually willing to grant her dying wish, the woman gracefully clasped her hands in thanks, then faded into a phantom and slipped right into the embroidered shoe. Once back on shore, he saw the young girl picking up her shoes, getting ready to leave. Blushing, the young boy nervously asked for her name. It turned out, her name was Xiaocao. He quickly introduced himself in return. I'm Wang Jingzhe. I was born on the day of the awakening of insects. After the two of them parted ways. As soon as Xiaocao got home, her father immediately pulled her aside to sit down. Her mother, beaming with satisfaction, pulled out a photo of young Master Kui. Faced with this arranged marriage from her parents, she just smiled, brushed them off with a few vague words, and slipped back into her room. She was determined to be the master of her own heart. Meanwhile, on a flight far away, a red-haired woman simply stretched her arms and drew the unblinking stares of every man around her. When a handsome guy tried to flirt with her, she politely turned him down. She had no time to play, she was rushing off to do something huge. Deep in the heart of Tibet, inside the Mao Xiaocao temple, a group of monks sat in a circle, quietly listening to their master's teachings. Exhausted from her long journey, the red-haired woman finally arrived at the temple gates. She took a deep breath, gathering her profound inner chi. Wang Jingzhe of Kayaj is here to see Dharma King Sangai. Her thunderous voice echoed through the courtyard, making everyone's head spin. They threw open the doors in anger, only to find a young woman standing there. How could someone so young possess such terrifying power? Inside the grand hall, Wang Jingzhe laid out her demands. Hearing them, Sangai flat out rejected her absurd request. She actually had the nerve to ask for the temple's most sacred relic, the Mohei Yoga Sutra, and she wanted it for 5 whole years. Seeing that Sangai wouldn't budge, Wang Jingzhe offered to trade a piece of vital information in exchange. Walk exactly 36,000 steps east of Lake Lamo, and you'll find a village. There are 3 boys and 4 girls under the age of 5. One of those boys was born in the year of Yiyu, the month of Gengwu, right at the hour of the pig. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, at the gates of the Li Manor in Longxi, a proud and handsome young man stood leading a group of guests. Mr. and Mrs. Li had been waiting eagerly at the door. Seeing this dashing young man bow to them so respectfully, the lady of the house covered her mouth, her heart blooming with joy. But the moment everyone stepped inside, a young girl hiding nearby saw the whole thing. Bursting with excitement, she bolted back to her room to tell her older cousin. Surprisingly, her cousin didn't care at all. Feeling totally brushed off, the girl ran straight back to the front hall to watch the drama unfold. Back in the main hall, the young man had just taken his seat and was already looking around, eager to spot his fiancée, the eldest daughter of the Li family. Seeing this, Mr. and Mrs. Li quickly told the younger girl to go fetch her cousin. But when she ran back to the bedroom, it was completely empty. After frantically searching the entire courtyard, panic set in. Something was terribly wrong. While everyone was panicking, Xiaocao, who had sneaked out, had already met up with Wang Jingzhe. After learning that the female ghost's husband was buried near Chang'an, she decided to head there immediately. It was the perfect excuse to run away from her arranged marriage. Seeing that Xiaocao was about to leave, Jingzhe handed her the betrothal gifts he had originally prepared. Since his own engagement had just been broken by her family, he had no use for them anymore. As he watched her walk away, her playful, radiant figure, bright as a summer flower, was deeply branded into his memory. Meanwhile, back at the Li Manor, everyone was in a complete panic, tearing the place apart trying to find Xiaocao. The young suitor sat in stony, displeased silence. But the auspicious hour for the ceremony had already arrived. Both families decided to just go ahead with the ritual first. But right as the matchmaker was chanting their birth dates, Wang Jingzhe suddenly showed up at the Li Manor gates. He was here to teach the Li family the price of breaking their promise. After easily knocking out the guards at the door, he stormed right into the main hall. He cut off the matchmaker mid-chant. When Mr. and Mrs. Li saw that this kid actually had the nerve to show up, they furiously screamed at him to know his place and get out. But Wang Jingzhe didn't even flinch. Crossing his arms, he sneered, "Didn't you say the Li family had no daughters of marrying age? Then what the hell kind of play are you putting on here?" The young suitor sitting nearby saw the commotion, and calmly stated that if there was a problem, they should settle it face to face. The old matchmaker, who already knew the messy history between them, stepped forward and demanded, "Do you have any written proof of this engagement?" He glared right back. The word of the Wang family is the proof. There isn't a soul in this world who would dare deny it. Hearing this, the head of the Li family burst into wild laughter. "Tell him to get the hell out of here before he makes a total fool of himself." "Fine, I'll leave, but only if you say it yourself that the Li family of Longxi and the Wang family of Zhaozh have absolutely no marriage agreement. Say that, and I'll leave right now." Hearing this, the head of the Li family didn't hesitate for a single second. He just blurted it out at the top of his lungs. But the exact moment the words left his mouth, the sky instantly turned pitch black, violently churning with thunder and lightning. A massive bolt of lightning slammed right into the Li family's ancestral hall. The poor son-in-law just watched and let out a cold smirk. "I can't believe there's actually someone this incredibly stupid in the world. You really dared to break a vow made to my Wang family." Just then, a Li family member rushed in an absolute panic. Ground at the ancestral cemetery is cracking open. Deep trenches are appearing everywhere, and swarms of snakes and rats are pouring out, completely overrunning the place. The Li couple was completely paralyzed with fear, entirely at a loss for what to do. Then, another family member came sprinting in. The old well in the backyard. It's suddenly violently spewing water. The man's face went completely dead pale, and he collapsed into his chair, completely crushed. The marriage witness standing nearby watched this and whispered in shock. A dried well springing water, the dragon's eye is shedding tears. This is a massive taboo. A young man who had been watching from the sidelines suddenly looked incredibly intrigued. I just came down the mountain to propose a marriage. I never expected to stumble upon such a brutally powerful blood vow. The South Kunlun sect was renowned as the absolute best at array formations in the world. Brimming with arrogant confidence, he decided to step in and fix this shattered mess. Seeing this, Wang Jingzhe just sat back in his chair, casually waiting for the show to start. The group hurried to the backyard and stared at the well water flooding the entire place. After inspecting the area for a moment, they immediately turned to the head of the Li family. Where is the other well in this compound? But when they were told that this was the only old well, they furiously yelled, "That's impossible. The Li family estate is clearly built right on top of a dragon's head. How could there possibly be only one dragon's eye?" The young man carefully examined the layout of the courtyard's structures. Don't tell me, is this the legendary one-eyed dragon array passed down by the ancient master Gigazi? He instantly dropped his arrogant attitude. Whipping out his compass, he prepared to rush over to the cemetery to check things out. But by the time they got there, the cemetery was completely devastated, an absolute scene of horrific ruin. Staring wildly at the violently spinning compass in his hand, the young man was finally certain of his terrifying guess. Suddenly, a thought struck him. He quickly leaned in and whispered directly into his martial uncle's ear. The one-eyed dragon array might be recorded in our Kunlun mountain texts, but the methods to actually set it up and break it have been lost for centuries. In the entire world, only the ancient tomes of Lianshan and Guiqing hold this knowledge. That kid absolutely knows something about those two legendary books. While the South Kunlun group was busy plotting their greedy little schemes, Wang Jingzhe was back inside the Li mansion, casually filing his nails like nothing was happening. Suddenly, a glaring ring of red light blasted open in the sky right above the roof. Feeling the crushing pressure bearing down on him, he looked up just as the crowd aggressively kicked the doors open and stormed in. Wang Jingzhe shot them an icy glare. What? You couldn't figure out how to break the array, so you want to do things the hard way? Hate to break it to you, but setting up this pathetic little trick won't do you any good. The young man didn't waste any time arguing. Hand over Lianshan and Guiqing. Do it, and save yourself a world of physical pain. Oh, really? Now I'm extremely curious to see exactly what you're gonna do about it. With that, Wang Jingzhe instantly bolted straight out of the grand hall, yanking a small cleaver right out of his bag. Without missing a beat, he fiercely hurled it straight at the massive ancient tree in the courtyard. The group was absolutely stunned by what they saw. How in the hell did he find the array's core so effortlessly? Looks like South Kunlun is nothing more than a joke. Hearing his arrogant mocking, the young man wasn't angry at all. He was actually thrilled. His intense, youthful competitive drive took completely over. He immediately pulled out his magical artifact, completely ready for an all-out showdown with Wang Jingzhe. He strictly ordered his martial uncle to stay back and not interfere. With a single, heavy stomp of his foot, he violently activated the grand array. A massive, howling hurricane violently erupted out of nowhere, aggressively dragging the clouds from all directions. It brutally locked Wang Jingzhe right into the dead center of the grand array. Wang Jingzhe just stroked his chin, casually observing his surroundings for a few seconds. Well, finally, something that isn't a total embarrassment. A cocky smirk cracked across his face. He already knew exactly how to beat it. The energy currents are forming a barrier. I need to find the gate of life to smash the array core. 3 to the east, 4 to the north. The Gen trigram on the inside, Dewey trigram on the outside. Looks like it's right here. The old man from South Kunlun watching the fight was paralyzed with absolute disbelief. How is it possible to have such a brutally dominant method to break an array? Seeing his proudest formation shattered, Kui Schwanz furiously struck out with a backhanded palm. He then summoned the 5 elements and 8 trigrams array, but Wang Jingzhe knew this formation like the back of his hand. He charged straight for the metal position in the northwest, slashing through the array with a single strike of his blade. The 3 yin and 3 yang 6 harmonies formation clashing and colliding. The wood engendered 7 kills formation dissolving the disaster at sunrise. Seeking the ultimate balance of water and fire. In the blink of an eye, the two had battled through 19 formations. Though completely exhausted, neither had any intention of backing down. But the Kunlun elder watching from the sidelines couldn't sit still anymore. Kui Schwanz was South Kunlun's brightest rising star in centuries. To think he was pushed to such a desperate edge by some wild country boy. He couldn't possibly let word of this humiliation get out. Sneakily, he pulled out a spiritual talisman. The sudden sneak attack shattered Wang Jingzhe's chest. Furious, Kui Xuan's demanded to know what his martial uncle was doing. He wanted to win fair and square, but to his shock, the elder angrily scolded him for being so short-sighted. You are the chosen heir meant to take over as sect master. How can you let some nameless brat ruin your reputation right now? Hearing this, Wang Jingzhe wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and picked up his rusty cleaver from the ground. Did you know I have an older sister named Wang Dongzi? Let me tell you, her temper is absolutely terrible. The elder sneered at his words. What, are you some little kid running to cry to mommy because you got bullied? I don't care who she is. Our South Kunlun fears absolutely no one. If you dare lay a finger on him, you'll be using your toes to hold your chopsticks from now on. Seeing that someone had actually shown up, the elder panicked and slapped the cleaver right out of Wang Jingzhe's hand. He lunged for the boy's throat, trying to strike first. Seeing this, Wang Dongzi just let out a chilling laugh. Looks like you're so old and senile, your ears have stopped working too. Blade, come. His left arm completely severed, the elder broke out in a cold sweat from the agonizing pain. He clutched his bloody stump, trembling violently in terror. Kui Xuan frantically rushed over. He helped his martial uncle up, spat out a desperate threat, and scrambled out of the Li family estate like a beaten dog, fleeing straight back to their sect. Watching this, Mr. and Mrs. Li were practically frightened out of their wits. Who could have guessed this kid's sister was such a total badass? The moment the South Kunlun guys were gone, Wang Dongzi started tearing into her little brother. Who couldn't even handle a couple of nobodies? Bickering back and forth, the two siblings started heading out the door. Seeing them leaving, the head of the Li family rushed over, begging to know what to do about their ancestral graves. Wang Jingzhe shot him a look of sheer disgust. You brought this on yourselves. Hearing that, Wang Dongzi raised her hand, ready to smack her idiot brother. As long as the marriage contract stands, your Li family will be perfectly fine. But let me make this clear the next time our Wang family comes to discuss the marriage. You had better fix that damn attitude of yours. Now, the only reason she had struck earlier was because she saw that old geezer grab her brother. That's when this fiercely protective sister used telekinesis to summon the cleaver right out of thin air. But that old man was a highly respected elder of South Kunlun. There was no way he would just let this severed arm go unpunished. Wang Dongzi couldn't care less what prestigious sect he belonged to. If you dare touch your brother, you pay the bloody price. Later, on a wooden boat drifting down the Wei River in Longxi, his sister pulled out the Maha Yoga Sutra she had borrowed from the western regions. She solemnly ordered Wang Jingzhe to read it every single day. The Wang family's knife-lending lineage was cursed to face a deadly tribulation every 3 generations. Whether he could survive it, that was entirely up to his own fate. But Wang Jingzhe couldn't care less about his own life or death. All he could think about was that girl, as radiantly beautiful as a summer flower. He barely took 2 bites of his food before claiming he was stuffed. He blurted out that he had an emergency and had to run, completely ignoring how his sister had just traveled thousands of miles to save his neck. How could Wang Dongzi not see right through his little scheme? But she had spoiled him rotten since he was a kid, so she just sighed and let him go. While Wang Jingzhe was hopping on a long-distance bus, rushing to Chang'an to find the girl of his dreams, the elder who had fled back to the Kunlun Mountains was deep in a meeting with his sect. They made a sinister decision. Spread the word that the knife lender had officially re-emerged. Meanwhile, in a traditional courtyard hidden away in the capital, the northern shaman lineage was arguing endlessly over this very news. Even though they desperately wanted to get their hands on the Liantian and Guiqing ancient texts held by the knife lender, their leader, Wu Chao, decided it was best to lay low and watch how things played out. At the main hall of the mystic sect, atop Mount Mao, the members looked up at the sky upon hearing the news. Looks like the martial world is about to be thrown into chaos. Meanwhile, deep in the mountains of Chang'an, long after nightfall, a man bowed respectfully from afar, facing 3 coffins. The decaying corpses inside, which had been lying dead silent. The faces beneath the yellow talismans seemed to pulse with life, and suddenly, their eyes snapped open. As a red string whipped past, the bodies shot straight up, standing rigid. Just then, an eerie green lantern flared to life ahead. The 3 bodies formed a neat line, and followed their guides off into the distance. This bizarre scene was witnessed by a girl hiding deep in the woods. This was Mao Xiaocao, who had tracked them here after hearing Wang Jingzhe's divination. Suddenly, the backpack slung over her shoulders popped open all on its own. A pair of embroidered shoes flew out, and morphed into a terrifying female ghost in midair, lunging straight at the group of corpse herders. She threw her arms tightly around one of the corpses, wailing mournfully, her eyes streaming with tears. Seeing this, Xiaocao stepped forward. After explaining the ghost's tragic past, she asked if they could simply take the body away. The old man furiously barked at her to stop being so naive. They had spent nearly a century cultivating these corpses. Seeing that he was completely unreasonable, Xiaocao lost her temper too. The Shangxi corpse-rearing sect had always been a bunch of wicked scumbags anyway. Since we can't talk this out, then let's fight. Xiaocao leapt into the air, narrowly dodging a nasty pincer attack from two of the men. With a quick flick of her wrist, she pulled the soul-guiding lamp from her hairbun and gave it a gentle blow. Ghostly energy poured out from the wick, completely enveloping the heads of the three corpses. Seeing his prized creation slipping out of control, the old man frantically whipped out a handful of yellow talismans. He bit down hard on his fingertip to draw out his heart's blood, barking orders at his disciples. They barely managed to suppress the chaotic energy. Seeing this, Xiaocao channeled even more power into her spell. Refusing to let a century of hard work go to waste, the old man pushed himself to the absolute limit, locking into a fierce magical duel with Xiaocao from afar. Caught in the crossfire of the two clashing energies, the three corpses went berserk, throwing their heads back in a terrifying, unearthly howl. A massive pillar of dark yin energy shot straight into the heavens, instantly grabbing the attention of every cultivator across Chang'an. The old man panicked. "Stop it, you crazy bitch!" he roared. "If you draw the other sects here, I might lose my corpses, but they'll snatch that soul-guiding lamp right out of your hands." Since he was finally backing down, Xiaocao recalled the embroidered shoes, ready to grab the corpse and leave. Right at that moment the screech of tires echoed from behind. Several cultivators piled out of their vehicles. They glared aggressively at Mao Xiaocao. Among them, a fresh-faced young Taoist priest stepped forward, offering a polite bow. "That soul-guiding lamp belongs to our founder, Zhang Daling. Miss, I kindly ask that you return it to our sect." Seeing that the young man, Xu Chengze, was at least being polite about it, Xiaocao explained that she had simply stumbled upon the lamp by chance. "I don't mind handing it back to the Zhengyi sect," she said. "But take a look around. We've got all these greedy cultivators here, watching us like hawks, just waiting to murder us and steal the loot. If we can actually make it out of here alive tonight, then I'll hand the lamp right over to you." Xu Chengze desperately wanted the artifact back, but he refused to stoop to the level of those thugs and rob her. Since this was a chance to reclaim their sacred treasure honorably, he didn't hesitate to agree to her terms. In a flash, Xu Chengze drew the peach wood sword from his back. With ice in his eyes, he leveled his blade at the crowd of greedy cultivators. "Let's see, which of you has the guts to steal the Zhengyi sect's sacred soul-guiding lamp?" Hearing this threat, the surrounding cultivators exchanged wary glances. The Zhengyi sect was an absolute powerhouse. None of them wanted to mess with Xu Chengze without a good reason. But the corpse-driving sect wasn't about to let Xiaocao off the hook that easily. "It's a pitch-black night," sneered one of the men. "As long as we strike fast and leave no trace, who's gonna know it was us?" With that, he signaled his two disciples, and they charged right at her. Seeing someone finally make the first move, the rest of the cultivators threw their hesitation out the window. One by one, they unleashed their spells, relentlessly bombarding the duo. Xiaocao and Xu Chengze barely managed to block the first wave of attacks, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. It wasn't long before the exhaustion started to set in, but suddenly a red string lashed violently through the air. It whipped straight toward Xiaocao, trying to snatch the soul-guiding lamp right out of her hands. Seeing this, Xu Chengze threw himself into the line of fire. He managed to block the red string with his wooden sword for a moment, but the very next second, his face drastically changed color. A massive fireball spell was hurtling right towards them. Seeing this, Xu Chengze grew incredibly tense. Unsure if he could block such a powerful attack, he desperately yelled at Xiaocao behind him to run away. But right at that moment, a shadowy figure dashed up right behind them. The attacker's aura violently surged. Before Xiaocao could even react, they slammed brutally into her. With a deafening crash, her body was sent flying backward like a cannonball, right in the nick of time. A figure in a blue robe appeared out of nowhere, catching Xiaocao's flying body firmly in his arms. Seeing who it was, Xiaocao gasped in shock. She couldn't understand how Wang Jingzhe had suddenly shown up here. It turns out that just a few moments ago, Wang Jingzhe was riding in a taxi and spotted the fight breaking out. He told the driver to wait, jumped out, and managed to save Xiaocao right on time. Blushing slightly, Wang Jingzhe looked down at her. "Of course I came to save you. I don't care if I have to make enemies of the entire world. For you, I'd cross mountains of blades and seas of fire. Even if I have to stand against everyone, I won't hesitate." This incredibly dramatic speech left Xiaocao absolutely stunned. "Are you an absolute idiot?" she yelled, wondering to herself, is he trying to confess to me, or is he just showing off? Hearing that, Wang Jingzhe instantly flushed red with intense embarrassment. Even he felt like his little performance was way over the top. Just as the two were about to keep flirting, the elder of the corpse-driving sect had had enough. "It's just another fool rushing to his death. Everyone, attack them together. Consider it just slaughtering one more pig." Now, Xiaocao was allowed to call him a pig. But there was no way Wang Jingzhe was going to let anyone else insult him like that. His face instantly turned dark and furious. With a quick flick of his wrist, he tossed out 7 talismans. You old geezer, how dare you provoke me in front of everyone? Then I'll just have to start with you. Wang Jingzhe's right hand quickly traced a pattern in the empty air. In an instant, 3 lightning attraction talismans materialized. This incredible move left the entire crowd watching in pure shock. They couldn't believe it. This was the legendary technique of void drawing. But Wang Jingzhe completely ignored the gasping crowd. He simply pressed 2 fingers to his forehead and muttered an incantation. The very next second, a massive bolt of heavenly lightning crashed down from the sky. It slammed directly into the charging elder of the corpse-driving sect. Once the dust finally settled, the crowd could only see plumes of smoke rising from the old man's charred body. Seeing this, Wang Jingzhe sneered coldly. The idiot who sticks his neck out gets struck by lightning. Look, I don't really want to start a massacre today, so you better get the hell out of here. Hearing his threat, the remaining cultivators instantly looked terrified. They froze right in their tracks, absolutely terrified to take another step forward. Meanwhile, Xiaocao and Chu Chengze were also completely blown away by Wang Jingzhe's terrifying display. They never expected this guy to be so insanely powerful. Posing like an unmatched master, Wang Jingzhe thought to himself, damn, showing off like this feels so incredibly good. That should stop anyone else from trying anything stupid, he figured. But 2 stubborn disciples from the corpse-driving sect simply refused to back down. You brat, aren't you afraid of offending all of us with a stunt like that? Just wait until we catch you alone, you're dead meat. Wang Jingzhe was genuinely surprised that someone with a death wish was still daring to threaten him. Your uncle is already roasting on the ground over there. But I guess you idiots still aren't scared enough. As he spoke, Wang Jingzhe once again unleashed the void drawing technique. 9 luminaries align. Boundless gaze, bestow your brilliance upon me. One glowing talisman after another began to float in the empty air. Wang Jingzhe's voice echoed powerfully as he chanted the true mantra. To the terrified crowd, every single one of those lightning attraction talismans looked like a grim reaper coming for their souls. Everyone present was instantly paralyzed, not daring to move a single muscle. Meanwhile, Wang Jingzhe let out a wicked, sinister laugh. Listen up, if I utter even one more word, all of these spells will activate at once. Gripping his heavy kitchen knife, Wang Jingzhe slowly stepped toward the crowd. Then, with a sudden burst of speed, he charged straight at the guy who had just threatened him. A sickening thud echoed from the man's chest. Heaven only knows exactly how many ribs were violently shattered in that impact. The man collapsed into a heap on the ground, violently coughing up mouthfuls of fresh blood. With his right hand, he kept slapping the guy's face with a meat cleaver. So you're the punk who was just threatening me, huh? I told you to get lost, but you didn't listen. He yelled, continuously smacking the guy with the flat side of the cleaver. Wang Jingzhe didn't stop until his hand was completely sore. The guy just clutched his swollen, bruised face, crying like a baby. He sobbed and swore he'd never do it again. Wang Jingzhe completely ignored him. Instead, he glared at the guy's senior brother next to him, and violently hurled the meat cleaver right onto the ground. The man's face instantly went totally pale with terror, and a mysterious warm liquid started dripping down his legs. Clutching a lightning summoning talisman in his hand, Wang Jingzhe looked around at the crowd with absolute arrogance. Who's next? He roared. Standing on the sidelines, Xiaocao couldn't bear to watch this anymore. He's acting so damn extra, she muttered. Taking advantage of the crowd's utter shock, Wang Jingzhe turned and walked over to Xiaocao, grabbing her hand without a second thought. Smugly, he asked her if he looked cool just now. Xiaocao scoffed and immediately shook off his hand. Cool, my ass. Only those dumb guys wouldn't see right through your terrible acting. It wasn't until their figures completely disappeared that Chu Chengze finally realized his lantern was missing. Meanwhile, Xiaocao and Wang Jingzhe had already hopped into the same taxi they came in. Wang Jingzhe asked the driver to find a hotel nearby. Tonight had seriously exhausted him. Hearing this, the driver glanced at Xiaocao sitting next to him and gave a knowing nod. But Wang Jingzhe completely failed to notice the annoyed glare Xiaocao was giving him. Dragging me to a hotel late at night, she thought. If you try any funny business with me later, I'm debating whether I should kick you so hard you'll be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. Hearing her mutter this, Wang Jingzhe was totally stunned. Funny business? What the hell are you talking about? This guy was a total blockhead. It was his first time taking a girl to a hotel, and he actually asked for 2 separate rooms. Luckily, the girl at the front desk was experienced. She subtly drew little circles on the counter while winking at Wang Jingzhe. Basically saying, I get what you want, boy. Just as Wang Jingzhe was standing there completely bewildered, the receptionist put on a serious face and said, I'm so sorry, sir. We are fully booked tonight. We only have 1 king-size bedroom left. Hearing this, Xiaocao's face instantly darkened. Wang Jingzhe, you really are trying to pull a fast one on me. I treat you like a brother, and you're actually trying to sleep with me? Wang Jingzhe was even more confused now. How am I pulling a fast one on you? It's not my fault the hotel is full. Am I supposed to read the stars before booking a room? Seeing him try to talk his way out of it, Xiaocao got even angrier. You were literally drawing circles on your ID card behind my back just now. Did you think I was blind? It was only then that Wang Jingzhe finally realized what had happened. He had been completely set up by the taxi driver. Turned out that before they got out of the car, the driver had whispered to him, when you check in, remember to draw a few circles. That way the front desk will know what you really want. Instantly, his face burned bright red with embarrassment. He hurriedly made the receptionist open another room anyway. After grabbing his keycard, Wang Jingzhe didn't even dare to look at Xiaocao. He sprinted into his room, completely mortified. Damn, that was humiliating. Watching him run away, Xiaocao looked at him with sheer disgust, thinking to herself, this guy is a total dumbass. Early the next morning, Xiaocao was fast asleep when Wang Jingzhe suddenly rudely woke her up. She instantly decided that Wang Jingzhe was even worse than a pig. Doesn't he know that pretty girls need their beauty sleep? Wang Jingzhe let out a speechless sigh, thinking to himself that women were seriously so petty. It's already been a whole night, how is she still mad? However, when he saw Xiaocao storm out of her room looking incredibly pissed off, Wang Jingzhe couldn't help but feel terribly guilty. He quickly offered to treat her out to a nice breakfast. Right after Xiaocao had eaten her fill, she started picking a fight with him again, demanding to know why he put so much chili in her food. Don't you know that eating too much spicy food makes girls break out and get fat? Hearing this, Wang Jingzhe actually burst out laughing. Didn't you think it tasted great? Besides, you literally ate way more than I did. Besides, you're absolutely gorgeous. Even if you gained a few pounds, you'd still look amazing. Hearing this, Xiaocao let out a soft, dismissive HMPH. Finally, the country bumpkin says something sweet, she thought to herself. But the moment she remembered how dense Wang Jingzhe could be, like a total blockhead, she started getting annoyed all over again. Her glare left Jingzhe completely clueless, totally baffled as to why this woman was always getting mad out of nowhere. Remembering he had an evening visit with an elder, Jingzhe asked Xiaocao if she'd be willing to tag along. But to his disappointment, Xiaocao turned him down without a second thought. Just as Jingzhe was feeling totally disheartened, Xiaocao suddenly spoke up. Did you want me to wander the ends of the earth with you? Because I'd love to go wandering with you. But unfortunately, the meat cleaver I carry won't exactly pass airport security. Xiaocao couldn't believe she had laid it out so perfectly. Yet Jingzhe was still staring at her, dumb as a rock. In the end, though, she still agreed to go. Arriving together at a grand courtyard house in Chang'an, Jingzhe explained to Xiaocao. My dad's old friend, Master Qing, lives here. The man's doing pretty well for himself in this city. After waiting for just a moment, a young man opened the front doors. The second Jingzhe revealed he was from the Wang family of Zhaozh, the young man's face lit up with overwhelming warmth. It turned out this was Qi Zhengkun, a disciple of the mystic sect's mountain lineage, and the man Jingzhe was looking for was his father, Qi Qing. Master Qi was absolutely thrilled to see Jingzhe. He and Jingzhe's father were incredibly close old friends. It's been way too long since our families caught up, he said, ushering Jingzhe warmly into the house. He insisted they absolutely had to share a few drinks together. But what Jingzhe didn't catch was the dark, sinister smirk creeping across the face of Qi Qing's son, Zhengkun. Have you ever seen a father and son so treacherous? Just to get their hands on the legendary mystic books, Lineage and Guiqing. They were willing to throw away decades of deep friendship and spike Jingzhe's food. But the Qi duo had no idea that Jingzhe had already noticed something was seriously off about them. Because just moments ago, when Qi Qing went to the kitchen to prep the food, a sharp crease had appeared right between his brows. And a tiny bead of sweat had formed on the tip of his nose. A dead giveaway in face reading that Qi Qing was lying through his teeth. When Xiaocao heard his theory, she thought he was being way too paranoid. Come on, Master Qing is your dad's best friend, she argued. Tapping his own eyes, Jingzhe confidently replied, if my vision was off. The lineage of the Blade Pledgers would have been wiped from history a long time ago. Sure, sometimes your eyes can deceive you, but when you pair it with gut instinct, then you're pretty much 99% right. That last 1% is up to fate, it just depends on whether the heavens want you dead. Staring right through the fake, hypocritical smiles of the Qi father and son, Jingzhe decided it was time to lay all his cards on the table. It looks like you're not planning on letting me walk out of here, Uncle Qi. Startled, Qi Qing opened his mouth to explain, but then firmly shut it. Seeing this, Jingzhe let out a heavy, internal sigh. Uncle Qi, why? Why would you do this? Qi Qing stammered, unable to force the words out. But his son, Zhengkun, just threw his hands up in a brazen shrug. For the books, obviously. Lianshan and Guiqing, I'm his flesh and blood. So naturally, he's doing whatever it takes for me. Hearing this, Jingzhe looked back at Qi Qing, deeply confused. Uncle Qi, you're my dad's closest friend. All you had to do was ask to borrow them. And my dad never would have turned you down. This time, Qi Qing didn't stay quiet. I'd strongly advise you to just give up without a fight, he muttered coldly. Hearing those words, a profound wave of disappointment washed over Jingzhe. He had always held so much respect for Master Qing, but seeing the man act like this now, it completely shattered whatever shred of affection he had left for him. From now on, just call me Wang Jingzhe. As of right now, the Wang family and the Qi family are completely done. All ties are severed. The moment those words left his mouth, a group of unfamiliar faces strode in through the doorway. No doubt, these were the hired muscle the Qi duo had called in, a whole squad of disciples from the mystic sect's mountain lineage. Seeing his backup arrive, Junkun's arrogance went through the roof. Hand over the damn books, right now. Otherwise, you'll end up shattered, just like this table. With those words, his right hand suddenly flared with power. A single palm strike pulverized the solid wooden table. Wang shielded Xiaocao behind him, whispering for her to stay safe. Then, he closed the distance in a flash, his right hand snatching the man's arm in a vice-like grip. But Qi Junkun didn't panic. The second he wrenched himself free, he unleashed a fierce flurry of palm strikes. Qi's strikes were absolutely brutal, but Wang countered effortlessly, using softness to deflect the crushing force. He casually blocked every single strike. Once he figured out the guy's fighting style, Wang instantly switched up his technique. His right hand formed a relaxed tiger fist. The moment Qi lunged again, Wang snapped his hand forward, viciously striking the man's elbow. Qi felt a shock run through his entire body like lightning, making him gasp sharply in pain. Wang didn't hesitate for a second. He instantly launched a brutal kick right at the guy's chest. Thank God his fellow Xuanmen disciples caught him. Otherwise, Qi would have been completely humiliated. But that kick pushed him over the edge. Furious, he signaled his friends to gang up on Wang. Facing a 3-on-1 ambush, Wang didn't flinch at all. Twisting and leaping, he effortlessly dodged every single blow they threw at him. This left Qi completely baffled. The combined assault of all three of them was being casually brushed off. It was like he could predict their every move. Realizing this, Qi ordered his crew to corner Wang against the wall. He wanted to use the tight space to break his flow. Seeing their desperate tactic, Wang just smirked. You guys are so damn naive. With that, he stomped his right foot hard against the wall. He launched his entire body into the air, instantly firing off 3 lightning-fast kicks. The 3 of them went flying backward in an instant. Qi crashed into the dirt, absolutely furious. But right at that moment, the slow, mocking sound of clapping echoed through the courtyard. Knock it off, you 3. Stop making absolute fools of yourselves. He's been predicting every single move you make. Are you really too blind to see he's using high-level divination? Qi was in total shock. Could fortune-telling actually be used this flawlessly in combat? His mind just couldn't process it. The 2 men who spoke didn't even bother explaining it to him any further. Instead, they stepped right up to Wang. We heard that you, and Kei Xuans from the South Kunlun sect, fought to an absolute standstill in Longxi. Well, my brother and I would love to see what you've got. I am Chang Zijing, of the Xuanmen Destiny branch. And I am Sun Yang, of the Divination branch. Show us what you can do. The man casually pinched his fingers together, performing a quick calculation. In an instant, he figured out there were exactly 17 birds resting in the tree outside. He shot Wang an incredibly smug look. But Wang wasn't impressed in the slightest. Sure, your Xuanmen divination might be able to calculate everything under the sun. But it comes with a massive price. And honestly, you're just using some cheap, outer sect parlor trick. I don't even need to run a calculation to know that we're about to hear exactly 6 dog barks from outside. The second Wang held up 6 fingers, 6 loud dog barks instantly echoed from the yard outside. Chang Zijing's eyes darted in shock. Wang had completely and utterly outclassed him. It seems those 2 legendary books, Lianshan and Guiqing, really are as powerful as they say. Realizing this, his eyes darkened with resolve. He was going to get his hands on those books, no matter the cost. Seeing that his junior brother was completely outmatched, Sun Yang pulled out a turtle shell and stepped forward, loudly offering to read Wang's fortune. Wang just smiled and casually agreed. But Xiaocao knew that calm, breezy look on his face all too well. He was definitely plotting something wicked. Whenever this sneaky bastard decided to play dirty, there was absolutely no stopping him. Sun Yang then pulled out 6 ancient 5 emperor coins, relics straight from the imperial palace. He dropped them right into the turtle shell, gripped it tightly with both hands, and started shaking it vigorously. The 6 ancient coins slid out onto the ground, ringing out with a crisp, sharp jingle. This reading is the hexagram of stagnation. It represents a mighty tiger, trapped at the bottom of a deep pit. Stripped of its power and glory, this means you are facing absolute disaster, with almost 0 chance of survival. Seeing the hexagram, Sun Yang let out a laugh. This reading is exactly like your current situation. Even if you were the king of beasts, you'd be totally helpless. I highly suggest you just give up and surrender. Hearing this, Wang Jingdian just chuckled. Are you really sure you figured out this hexagram? Because I've got a feeling you just read it completely wrong. Why don't you take another, closer look at the reading? Hearing this, Sun Yang didn't even hesitate and shot right back. I only need one glance to read a hexagram. I've been mastering the 64 hexagrams for 20 years. As he spoke, Sun Yang couldn't help but glance back at the reading on the ground. But a split second later, his expression drastically changed. It was as if he had seen something totally impossible. Hidden within the reading was actually another hexagram. It wasn't the stagnation hexagram from just a moment ago. It was the hexagram of the wind, the heaven and earth. A dried lotus finally receiving water. This meant the subject of the reading would face sudden shocks, followed by extreme danger. But just as the lotus leaves withered from the drought, a heavy rain would pour from the sky, signifying that a benefactor would step in to help. But right as Sun Yang finished interpreting this new reading, Wang Jingdian told him he was wrong again. Sun Yang subconsciously stared back down at the signs. In an instant, cold sweat started dripping down his face. Because the hexagram had shifted yet again. It flickered back and forth, turning into a neutral reading, and then suddenly warping into an incredibly lucky omen. The longer Sun Yang stared, the more terrified he became. His eyes were completely bloodshot. Seeing this, Zijing rushed over and grabbed him, begging him to stop the calculations. But it was too late. Sun Yang was already trapped in a deep, obsessive trance. Staring wide-eyed at the violently shifting hexagrams, he suddenly coughed up a massive mouthful of blood. And then, he just collapsed, completely unconscious. Chang Zijing glared fiercely at Wang Jingdian. What the hell did you do to my senior brother? What could I possibly have done? Your senior brother is the one who insisted on reading my fortune. Who knew he'd completely lose his mind trying to figure it out? But before Wang Jingdian could even finish his sentence, a voice called out from outside the house. He couldn't read the signs, nor could he see the true reason behind them. His skills were, frankly, just too weak. Hearing this, Wang Jingdian turned his head to look. He saw a silhouette walking slowly toward them, taking calm, unhurried steps. The lineage of the knife pledgers reaching your generation. Should be exactly the third generation now, right? And if my guess is correct, you've already been cursed by heaven's wrath. Sun Yang is lucky he only tried to read your general fortune. If he had tried to read your actual destiny, he would have been destroyed on the spot. Wang Jingdian was taken aback. This guy knew the deepest secrets of the knife pledgers like the back of his hand. Whoever he wasn't someone to mess with. The stranger gave a slight, respectful bow with folded hands, and finally revealed who he was. He was actually Hu, the master of the mountain branch of the mystic sect. To become a sect master at such a young age, Wang Jingdian figured this guy's power was probably even greater than Kui Xuance's. But Hu didn't attack right away. Instead, he simply said he wanted to make a deal. According to the mystic sect's internal records, he knew that the knife pledgers hadn't shown themselves to the world in a very long time. And since Wang Jingdian had come out of hiding so openly, it had to be because he was trying to break the curse of heaven's wrath. Otherwise, Wang Jingdian probably wouldn't even live past the age of 30. The mystic sect holds countless ancient texts, Hu offered. We might just have a way to break your curse. Hu's words didn't even make Wang Jingdian flinch, but Xiaocao, who was standing nearby, was completely stunned. She never imagined that this goofy guy was actually bearing the weight of heaven's curse and that he might die before he even turned 30. Legends said that the knife pledgers were masters of feng-shui and the forces of yin and yang, possessing unparalleled skills in divination and fortune-telling. All because they held the two legendary ancient texts, the Mountains United and the Return to the Source. But this also made them targets, hunted down by countless masters across the martial world. All desperate to steal those sacred manuals. And the man standing right in front of them wasn't just anyone. He was the master of the mystic sect's mountain branch. But there was absolutely no way Wang Jingzhe was just going to surrender without a fight. Half the city of Chang'an was already out looking for him. Besides, during his magical duel with Sun Yang just moments ago, he had already foreseen his way out. As long as he could stall for a little bit of time, it would draw out other members of the mystic sect. And in that chaos, he could easily make his escape. With a fierce, defiant grin, Wang Jingzhe ignited a talisman. The yellow paper shot into the air and violently exploded mid-flight. Without skipping a beat, he formed a hand seal with one hand and let out a deafening roar. The true words of his incantation blasted out, erupting through the air like a massive crack of thunder. Suddenly, Hu's head spun with dizzying force. He quickly clapped both hands over his ears to steady himself. Seizing the moment, Wang Jingzhe grabbed Xiaocao's hand, ready to bolt from the area. But he'd severely underestimated the mountain sect master's power. Not only did Hu snap back to his senses in a split second, he also rapidly formed hand seals, firing off a powerful spell. This was a traditional Taoist technique, specifically designed to exorcise demons and suppress spirits. It could even completely seal away a person's very soul. Wang Jingzhe felt a terrifying shudder rip through his spirit, instantly plunging him into a blinding daze. The mystic sect's mountain branch is world-renowned for its combat prowess. Did you really think I just let you walk away? But Hu had completely overlooked one crucial detail: the girl standing right next to Wang Jingzhe, Xiaocao. Stepping firmly in front of Wang Jingzhe to shield him, she unleashed the secret, exclusive art of Fanjing Mountain. Shadows of the deep night. Let the wandering spirits step aside. Specters and ghouls, heed my command. Xiaocao bellowed with explosive force. Out of thin air, a chilling, ghostly wind violently swept through the shadows, spawning swarm after swarm of vicious, shrieking spirits. Roaring with fury, they lunged straight at Hu Hu, giving Xiaocao just enough time to snap Wang Jingzhe out of his daze. Come on, these ghosts might look terrifying, but they'll only stall him for a minute or two. However, just as the pair burst through the front gate, a dark figure suddenly ambushed them from around the corner. Without a single word, the assailant threw a vicious punch right at Wang Jingzhe's back. Catching it in his periphery, Wang violently shoved Xiaocao out of harm's way, taking the brutal blow head-on with his own shoulder. But right at that moment, another figure lunged from behind. Another ruthless iron fist came smashing toward him. Unable to dodge in time, Wang Jingzhe took the devastating hit squarely in the back. A spray of deep red blood violently burst from his mouth. Critically injured and reeling, he looked up to see Hu Hu, the mountain sect master, already catching up to them. That bastard had held back a trump card, setting up an ambush outside the gates ahead of time. Surrounded on all sides by heavily armed disciples, the two of them were completely trapped. Even if they had wings, they wouldn't be able to escape this. But just when all hope seemed lost, a streak of rapid figures suddenly dashed in from the distance. It was none other than the disciples of the Northern Shaman sect. And leading them was Wu Chao, a man who had crossed paths with Wang Jingzhe before. Ever since the legendary knife lenders resurfaced in the martial world, rumors had spread like wildfire that the two mythical tomes were held by a pair of siblings surnamed Wang. Because of this, occult practitioners from all over were flocking to Chang'an. Seeing the newcomers, Hu Hu's expression instantly darkened with disdain. This is internal mystic sect business. It has absolutely nothing to do with you northern shamans. But the moment the words left his mouth, Wang Jingzhe flashed a wicked, knowing grin and called out. Hey, my sister and I are those exact siblings surnamed Wang. And since you and I have already traded blows in the past, we're practically old friends now, aren't we? If you help me hold these guys off right now, I swear, I'll owe you a massive favor. Hearing this, a sly smirk tugged at the corner of Wu Chao's mouth. While he certainly wanted a piece of the action in those legendary books, there was absolutely no way he was going to let the arrogant mystic sect get off easy. Making his decision, Wu Chao turned his gaze back to Wang Jingzhe, giving him a subtle nod, signaling that he'd hold the line while Wang made his escape. Not only could he completely ruin the mystic sect's plans, but he'd also score a major favor from a legendary knife lender. For the northern shamans, this deal was an absolute steal. Seeing their silent exchange, Hu Hu flew into a blind rage. He frantically barked orders at two of his disciples to intercept them up ahead, while he stayed behind to personally deal with Wu Chao. Meanwhile, Wang Jingzhe and Xiaocao scrambled frantically out of the alleyway. Screeching tires echoed as a car violently swerved, completely cutting off their only escape route. Wang Jingzhe's heart dropped into his stomach. They were finished. He couldn't believe there was yet another ambush waiting for them. But right at that terrifying second, the car door flew open. A girl with her face shadowed by a hat urgently screamed at them to get in. Without a clue whether she was friend or foe, they were completely out of options. With his life on the line, Wang Jingzhe didn't hesitate. He shoved Xiaocao inside and dove in after her. Once they finally sped out of the danger zone, a battered Wang Jingzhe turned to express his deep gratitude to their savior. But before he could even speak, the girl pulled off her hat. It was Yi Susu from the Mystic Sect's Physiognomy branch. Wang Jingzhe was utterly dumbfounded. He never in a million years expected that a core member of the Mystic Sect's 5 branches would actually step up to save his life. It turned out, the Mystic Sect headquarters had recently convened a massive assembly, entirely focused on hunting down the 2 legendary tomes, Lianshan and Guiqing. The other 4 branches had fiercely vowed that they would secure the books by any means necessary. Only the Physiognomy faction chose not to fight over it, because Wang Jingzhe once had an agreement with them. Naturally, they had to keep their promise, and their faction stepping in to help this time was just to show their sincerity. The old man told Wang Jingzhe to get out of there, fast. Because soon, all 4 branches of the Mystic Order would be gathering in Chang'an. I mean, can you believe it? The Grand Destiny's knife lender had barely a dozen bucks of pocket money to his name. Just a little while ago, after Wang Jingzhe and Xiaocao were rescued by the Physiognomy faction, they decided to leave Chang'an for the time being. But what Xiaocao never expected was that the moment Wang Jingzhe got into the car, he completely passed out, his ankle still dripping with blood. When Xiaocao leaned in to check on him, she saw something unbelievable. The flesh on Wang Jingzhe's lower leg was already starting to rot, with blood constantly seeping out from inside. Xiaocao froze in shock. Was this the so-called wrath of heaven? By the time Wang Jingzhe finally woke up, Xiaocao had already driven them far out of Chang'an. They had arrived at a small town not too far away. Wang Jingzhe told her he needed some quiet time to recover. But since they were still pretty close to Chang'an, he was worried that staying with him would put Xiaocao in danger. So, he suggested she head out first. But Xiaocao just shot him a fierce glare. "Didn't we agree to roam the world together?" she snapped. Wang Jingzhe was left speechless. "My leg is literally crippled right now. I couldn't leave even if I wanted to." His reply gave Xiaocao a massive headache. If I just dump you here right now, I'd probably feel too guilty about it, even though we barely know each other. But I guess I'm just too soft-hearted. And just like that, the two of them went to rent a place. However, while Xiaocao stood there waiting for him to pay the rent, he just stared back at her with a completely innocent look on his face. Because Wang Jingzhe literally only had $12 on him, Xiaocao never in a million years imagined that this guy was completely dead broke. "Are you kidding me? We're roaming the world together, and I'm the one paying for everything?" Still, when she thought about how badly injured he was, and how he might not even live past 30, Xiaocao could only grit her teeth and play the sucker. Not only did she buy him all kinds of delicious food, she even got all the pots, pans, and daily necessities completely sorted out. Watching Xiaocao pulling out item after item, Wang Jingzhe looked a bit confused and asked, "Wait, are we moving in together?" Hearing that, Xiaocao rolled her eyes at him. "Or maybe you'd prefer I pitch a tent for you in the yard?" At that, Wang Jingzhe quickly clutched his chest, whining about how badly injured he was. Xiaocao just gave him another helpless eye roll, her mind clearly working something out. And right then and there, she laid down 8 ground rules. Rule 1. You are absolutely not allowed in my bedroom. When I'm in the bathroom, do not rush me. You are absolutely not allowed to touch my clothes or my personal stuff. No making noise when I'm sleeping at night. The house must be kept perfectly clean at all times. Strictly no smoking or drinking inside. As for groceries and cooking, you don't have to worry about that. Because I highly doubt your cooking will suit my taste. But whether my cooking is actually good or not, you will eat every last bite and clean your plate. And the absolute most important rule is that you cannot talk back to me. And even if you try, your resistance is totally futile. That was all Xiaocao could think of for now, but she made it clear she'd be adding more rules whenever she felt like it. Wang Jingzhe really wanted to protest, but then he remembered he was totally broke and severely injured. So, with actual tears welling up in his eyes, all he could do was choke down his pride and thank her.